Hello, and welcome to the second edition of Jazz Tales, sponsored and presented by Jazz Alive. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. I'm so happy to have a very good friend and a great bassist here with us tonight. And let me tell you a little bit about him. He's from the Washington, D.C. area, grew up in the jazz and gospel community. He was awarded the National Endowment of the Arts Award in Jazz Studies while attending college and trained under Betty Carter and Keeter Betts. He signed with Verve Records as an original member of the Harper Brothers and has performed and recorded and toured with Abdullah Ibrahim, Michel Petrucciani, and was part of the band that won the Grammy with Betty Carter for Look What I Got. As a musical director, he's worked with many artists including Patti LaBelle, James Ingram, Jeff Majors, Abbey Lincoln, Angie Stone, Isaac Hayes, and Gil Scott-Heron. And if that wasn't enough, he's also recorded and been on the stage with Sarah Vaughn, Joe Williams, Manhattan Transfer, the Kennedy Center Opera House Orchestra, Della, Reece, Michel Camilo, and those that have been in the afternoon, you know that one, you've seen those, Ricky Skaggs and Dee Dee Bridgewater, among many others. But one of the main reasons I really wanted to have him here, not just because he's a great bassist, but he's an ardent, avid, whatever word you want to use, educator. And he is a former teacher in the Washington, D.C. public schools, having taught at Fillmore Arts Center, Deal Middle School, and Oyster Adams Bilingual Campus. And like I said, if that wasn't enough, he's performing, he's in demand all over the place, and he finds time to be the director of the Blues Alley Youth Orchestra. Please welcome Mr. Michael Bowie.
Hey everybody, hey Fred, thank you for having me. This is Michael Bowie behind the mask. I promise you.
Well, thank you so much for being with us. Why don't we start out with How High the Moon? This is a tune, 1940 musical, Two for the Money, written by Morgan Lewis and Nancy Hamilton. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Michael. Pleasure having you here. Thank you. Thank you. So we're going to do a tune next, and I'm sorry, let me say hi to everybody. Michael Kramer. He says, the great Michael Bowie. Stephen Laurie, up in Easton, Pennsylvania. They say hi, Michael. Lou and Janet up in, they're up in Nutley, New Jersey. Say hi. Rena and Mike up in Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
Wow.
And there's more people, but they haven't signed in to say hi yet.
Hey, everybody.
Great to have you here, Michael. You want to tell us about this next song?
Yes. Oh, hey. I'm going to go maskless for a moment. My good friend, because I can't breathe in this thing. My good friend, Alan Johnson. That's the right tune, right?
Yes.
He teaches at the University of the District of Columbia, where I spent quite a bit of time with the great Calvin Jones there. And Alan took over the program upon the passing of Calvin. And he's doing great things. He's a great musician, composer, engineer. Alan does everything, and mostly he's my friend. And so he has a series where he writes he writes a composition for guest artists who come in to speak. And he wrote this, and he calls it For Michael Bowie, a very apropos title, and very convenient. And I asked him, could we do it? And here we are.
Great. Yeah, I'm glad he said yes.
Yes.
Yes. I'm sorry, folks.
Yeah.
I should have switched over to Michael, but you heard the whole thing. I'm sorry. Here I was staring at you.
actually
I was so
maskless, too.
mesmerized by the whole thing. All right, so for Michael Bowie, written by Alan Johnson. Wow, that's a beautiful tune.
Alan Johnson, man.
Yeah, please tell Alan I said thank you. And, you know, I'm hoping this continues. And Alan's definitely a person I'd love to have here and talk to. So
You'll get him here. He's beautiful, man.
Yeah, he is. He's a wonderful piano player. Jack. Oh, by the way, Michael Kramer says, watching with my kids, they're loving it.
Oh, Michael Kramer is an amazing guy. I'm not going to go into him here because you didn't have me here to talk about Michael, but he's a great guitar player and a genius of a mind. So we're going to do some things.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good. Jack, good to see you. Thank you so much. Peter, is it hot down in Louisville? I'm sure it is. All right, we're going to continue next with it. And I'm sorry you put your mask on, but I would like you to you picked this next tune. This is from a Ray Brown record. This is The Nearness of You. The Nearness of You. Why did you? I'm always curious why people pick certain tunes. What's the story behind it?
You know, here we go, mask off. I can breathe. I used to play this with Abbey Lincoln and many other artists because it's one of the great songs ever written. And of course, Ray's treatment of everything that he touches is the best, hands down. And so I just love how he dealt with that. And then the key that you had reminded me of that Ray played it in is not a key that Abbey used to do it in. This is so it's in, you know, F.
Right.
F, right. But Ray does it in D because
Right.
Ray can hit all those.
Right. I used to play it a lot with, it was one of Tim Ironman's tunes that he had in his group when I was playing with him, and he did an E flat. So,
Okay.
you know, everybody has different keys. But when I first listened to it, I was like,
But Tim is a
D. Yeah, he was a, you know, unfortunately he's no longer with us yet. But D is like, wow. And on the piano, you know, it's just a really bright tune on the piano. I love it. It just changes the whole thing. So.
Yes. Well, I'm going to change the whole thing because I have not played it in this key, so I'm looking forward to it.
All right, here we go. The Nearness of You, Hoagie Carmichael and Ted Washington.
okay, that key is beautiful, but if you don't practice it, for all you folks out there who play, thanks, Fred.
Thank you. That was absolutely beautiful. Yeah, no, thank you. I'm going to play it in D from now on.
Yeah.
And it's just like we played My Foolish Heart last week. I do that in A, and that's thanks to Bill.
Okay.
You know, when I first transcribed it, I was like, I think it's in B flat because it was one of those records. It was kind of halfway in between.
Yeah.
Anyways, well, yeah, we're going to get away from that, so let's not go there. So here we are. This is the first part of the interview here, and
Cool.
I'm asking each artist that comes in for these first four, and I'm probably going to continue with the same question because I think it's very important. We know that we have two students that are listening that have been sponsored, and we'll learn more about them later.
Cool.
And then Michael's here with his kids.
Michael.
So I think it's important because of the mission of Jazz Alive, the continuation and preservation of America's indigenous art form. And I know you and I have discussed this over the years, that pretty much the only way we do that is exposing our young people to this music.
Yes. Yes.
So if a young person's not sure what they're going to do with music, they're not sure about music, what is that, or maybe there were several things that led up to you saying music is it, jazz is it? What were those things?
Okay. Well, briefly, both my parents are musicians. My mother, we just lost her a couple of months ago, but great musician and a great teacher. She taught in the D.C. public schools. And my father is Roscoe Bowie, who is a tenor saxophone player, played with a lot of people. Arranger and all that. So I grew up listening to classical duets. I wake up in the morning and they'd be playing. So, music not only runs through my blood, but, it's just something that I heard all day. And then when I was old enough, we formed a family group. And I'd pop into school late on some mornings because we'd be out working, the night before. So from a very early age, I backed the Drifters, the Coasters, the Shirelles at the Warner Theater. I couldn't have been 15, 16,
Wow.
17, something like that. And I was with my father's group of youngsters. My father, Chuck Royal, the trumpet player,
Right.
teacher Howard,
Mm-hmm.
his brother, a number of people went through my father's program at the Northwest Settlement House. So I've been surrounded by music my entire life, and they both gave. They paid it forward. So I fell right in line with that. And you don't get nearly as much by taking as much as you do by giving. And that's true in anything in life. And that which I have gotten from those that I've been around, and I hang out with them, and I teach them, I guess, formally. But I've gotten so much. I've gained so much, and it's the feeling. It's selfish. I'm doing it for selfish reasons, because I get so much by giving. So, yeah.
Wow.
Did I answer your question?
Oh, you did. You did. And that actually made me think of some other ones that I did want to ask along those lines. So there was never, it sounds to me as though there was never any doubt that this is what you were going to do because you grew up in that environment.
Grew up in the environment. They nurtured me early. And then when I decided to go to the upright bass, which is a bit after the electric bass, I found Keter Betts. That's when they used to have newspapers. And I used to read, whose name would I see all over the place, and there were a lot of clubs, and Keter was at them all. And he took me under his wing, and he really set me straight. I mean, Keter was out there doing it. And from any of the guys that, certainly Steve Novosel, great Steve Novosel was out there doing it. But there were a few guys that were out there like that, a few, rare, and Keter was right at the top.
Sure.
Playing with Della and
Right.
everybody he played with, man. His classic lines with Stan Getz. And Keter, I want everybody to know this, and this is directly from Keter. he introduced Brazilian music to Stan. He was the one that said, hey man, check these records out. Now, we know what the history says, but this is a backstory. You know, Keita was in the band, and he played on the Seminole record, and he was like, hey man, check this Brazilian stuff. Keita was always years and years ahead, man. He hit me to Bobby McFerrin.
Wow.
You know, before Bobby really blew up.
Yeah.
Keita was always on it, man. And that's, that spirit. That's what jazz is. Jazz is not, playing songs from yesteryear. It's a mindset. It really is a mindset. It's how you approach life, and how it's forward thinking. It's progressive. It's always moving and morphing. And Keita was that, period, in the statement.
Yeah, he was. That seminal record, just in case our folks don't know, it was called Jazz Samba, correct?
Yes.
That was Stan Getz, Charlie Bird.
Yes.
And Keita, and I can't remember who the drummer was.
I think Chuck was too young for that.
Yes. Yeah. And then that record was recorded at a church in Washington, D.C., correct?
You know what? You've got a little bit more.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure it was. Yeah. No, that's a great record.
Yes.
But I never knew that story.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I was around Keita, and whether I never unfortunately had a chance to play with him, but I was with him at festivals, depending on and all that. Such a nice guy, always giving. It was what you just said.
Always.
Yeah,
and I've been around. That's the type of people that I gravitate towards, and they've influenced me to do this. Which I spend a lot of time giving. Because what else is? Well, you can't take anything with you anyway. Right. So might as well give back.
Well, let's play some more, and then we'll talk about some of your mentors, of which you just talked about Keita, but Betty. Betty's coming up next. So I think next on the list we have Oscar Pettiford's "Blues in the Closet."
Oh.
Any particular reason you picked that, other than bass has the melody?
No.
Hey, honesty, I love it. All right, here's Oscar Pettiford's "Blues in the Closet." So we talked about doing something from the late great, unfortunately, Larry Willis. You want to say anything about Larry? I've played this song on my happy hour show that I used to do. So I just mentioned a little bit. I also did The Day You Said Goodbye, which is another beautiful tune by Larry. But
Larry was a consummate musician. He's done. All right, I'm going again. Larry was a consummate musician, as everyone knows. But you know, he's done a lot of work with a lot of artists that you wouldn't even know he worked with. Larry was a great synthesizer player, all the David Sanborn stuff.
Blood, Sweat, and Tears.
Huh?
He was with Blood, Sweat, and Tears, correct?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you know a lot about Larry. And I used to go to see him after hours at Bradley's all the time up in New York. And we've only got a chance to play together a couple of times, just very few. But just being around him and hanging, and he was a sharer too, and he was just a great man, and it's just a great. It's very unfortunate loss for the community,
Yes.
Definitely wasn't his time, but you know what? That's not up to us.
Yep.
But he's legend and will live forever.
Yes. Well,
Yep.
here's Larry Willis's "To Wisdom the Prize." You want to set it up? That bass line? Upstairs, let's just go right into it.
Almost.
Yeah, Michael. That's a great tune. Upstairs Blues.
Ray Brown.
Ray Brown. Yeah, Upstairs Blues by Ray Brown. I just wanted to pass this on. One of our folks that donated to, actually, this student from the Blues Alley Orchestra, Steve and Laurie. Steven says, "You're amazing, Michael. Wonderful watching and listening. God bless you both."
God bless you. Yes, God bless you all for listening. And this is a great thing that you're doing, Fred, and glad people are tuning in.
Thank you. Yes, glad they are too. We got to get this music continue to push.
Yes.
Push. So you cut your teeth early on with the great Betty Carter. What was that like?
Oh, I was in a practice room, and I will give all thanks to the great Winard Harper, drummer, who remembered me from D.C. He went to Howard for a little bit before being swept up into New York. And I didn't run across him too much while he was here, but he knew my father. And my father used to tell me, "Hey, man, I got a son that plays bass." Now, obviously, Winard and I are about the same age. I mean, he might be just a couple of years younger. You know, but he done a gig or just ran into my father, was a player in town. But Winard was everywhere, and, rightly so. He's a great, great, great drummer. And Betty played Blues Alley, and after they finished Blues Alley, they were heading up to Philly. And Winard stopped by UDC, and I was in the practice room. He said, "Hey, man, you want to audition for Betty Carter?" And I took a train to Philly that night and met her. And a couple of days later, I'm driving in my old Ford Falcon, going up to New York. And it was a practice room, very not unlike this one, on Felix Street and by BAM up in Brooklyn. And she, Benny Green, pianist, and Winard, myself, we'd be in the practice room every single day, getting that music right. And she taught me about consistency. And she said, "Nobody else is going to give you a chance like this. You got to learn to be consistent. And she beat us up when we're needed, but it was well worth it. I mean, yeah, that's a beautiful way to kind of get your feet wet in New York, And she took us all over the world, and I got to meet a lot of people. And our first gig in New York was at the Blue Note, New Year's Eve, opposite Freddie Hubbard.
Wow.
And you talking about a nervous wreck. And in the audience, because they heard about this new bass player that Betty had, I kid you not, Rufus Reed, who else was there? Maybe David Williams. Oh no, it was ridiculous.
No pressure there.
Oh, no, not at all. I mean, and guys that because there's an undercurrent of great players there. So I didn't know, I wasn't as familiar with David Williams, but I quickly became.
Yeah, right.
Oh my. So yeah, it was just it, and then they welcomed me in, man. Like I went to that same week, over to hear Ron Carter play at the we used to be called Sweet Basil's, and he didn't know me from anything, and he picked me up and hugged me. He said, "Hey man, how you doing?" With the voice of his, and I was like, "This is Ron Carter giving me a hug." And I've heard stories, and Ron can be very, standoffish, but he's such everybody knows he's a beautiful person,
right?
And on the Mount Rushmore of bass players. But so yeah, it was just amazing, man. That whole time, I never slept, for months. I don't know how I survived, but I was young,
right?
You do those things, when
right?
You're young.
Well, I never forget you mentioned Benny Green, and the very first time that I met Benny, he was playing with Ray Brown's trio at the Elkhart Jazz Festival when I was there with the Jazz Ambassadors.
Okay.
And all the records I had of Benny, he was, New York, it was, in your face type thing.
Right.
And, I'm like, okay, you're playing Gene Harris's type thing?
Right.
And the minute he started to play, I was blown away by, I said, "How did you do that?" He said, as soon as I knew I had a chance to get the gig,
Right.
I ate and slept and drank this music so that Ray was not gonna not hire me.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. You got to make it. That's the way to look at it. You know, you got to not hire me for other reasons. It can't be because of the music.
Right.
You know. And Benny used to eat and sleep that music, man. You know, I picked Benny up. I know he's gonna kill me for saying this. He's one of my very, very dear friends. And Benny would have a half head of cabbage, raw, and he's eating it like potato chips. And I'm driving. I'm like, dude, are you for real? Benny is a character, man. I love him to death. So
He's such a great player.
yes, he is.
Yeah. Well, in the next segment of the interview, I really want to talk about education and kids and all of that. But
Beautiful.
I know that you had a story about Abbey Lincoln. And Abbey Lincoln, another just wonderful, wonderful singer. Can you share that story with us?
Well, not just a singer. I mean, you know.
Well, it's a musician.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is the part that some people wouldn't be privy to. But if you look at her titles, "The World Is Falling Down," "Hold My Hand," you know, like how apropos, you know, is, you know, it ain't gonna fall all the way, but it just sure feels like it. And so I want everybody to go check out Abbey Lincoln, man, especially "The World Is Falling Down." Charlie Hayden's on that one. And I always say that Betty gave me birth in my music career, and Abbey made me a man. And a lot of that came through listening to Charlie Hayden. You know, conventional cats, especially around that time, just hard swingers. Charlie wouldn't be on the radar because, I mean, although he did incredible work with Ornette, you know, Charlie could swing his behind off. But he is an expressionist, right? So the quick story on Abbey, we were about to do Abbey's record, and on that record is a child. We were going to do "A Child Was Born," and I was way out in Pennsylvania doing that festival at York.
Right.
And I was going to come back. I had my stuff at the hotel. I rented a car, and the mother of my two kids, my first wife, she says, "I'm in the hospital. I'm about to give birth." So I'm at the York Festival, and hoping that she, you know, because usually, you know, but anyway, it didn't happen. I decided to go back to D.C., left my stuff in the hotel in New York, made a phone call. I didn't do the record. Marcus McLaurin played bass in my stead. Like overnight, they found him. But she dedicated "A Child Is Born" to my first child.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Tatiana and Nicholas, my second
wow.
child.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Well, we were gonna play. Wow, that's.
Oh wait!
We were gonna play "A Child Is Born" later, but let's do it now. No, that's a perfect segue.
Okay.
Oh, perfect segue. Yeah.
I got to read my cue sheet.
Oh no! It's all fluid here. It's all fluid. Here's "A Child Is Born" by Thad Jones.
was very playfully childlike at the end. It's beautiful.
Thank you. That's one of my favorite tunes. It really is. What do we want to do next? Since now we're out of order. Do you want to go
We're out of
Tricketism, or what would you like to do?
You're out of order. It was a great movie like that, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right. So here's Oscar Pettiford's Tricketism.
It's a workout.
Yeah.
Regardless of tempo.
That's great. You know, Michael, it's been so much fun, and we're almost out of time, but I do want to take a second here and talk about, before we play probably just one more tune, but before we get out of here, you're such a supporter of education, and you've spent so much time with our young people, and now with Blues Alley Youth Orchestra. If we weren't in the middle of this pandemic, it was difficult enough with our young people. What would you say is the most challenging thing for us as getting this music to the younger generation so that it really continues? I'm afraid by the time that you and I are no longer on this planet, it may not be around. That's my biggest concern.
Well, you know what? That is, if you look at school statistics and the amount of young people who are now in jazz programs, it's astounding, you know. So what I have discovered is that the music is definitely not dying.
Good.
Because listen, when my mother was at Howard University in the early 60s, if you practiced jazz in a practice room, you could get disciplined. Oh yeah, there were no jazz programs. You remember, like, I think it was people like David Baker and you guys ushered in those programs. And that, you know, not too long ago. But people are scared and worried about getting into college, you know, the auditions, playing jazz. You know, scared and worried, you know, as all parents and students are getting into college, period. But people are signing up in droves. That's why you see most of the guys that I used to be on the road with, a lot of the staple now is teaching, because the road is not like what it used to be. And they all have a job, and they've been offered jobs because they're great, but it's because of the demand. All around this country, you know, kids are signing up and playing jazz.
Wow, that's encouraging.
Oh. Man.
Now the question is will there be gigs for them?
You know what, listen, I used to be worried. I have 3 young men that I am extremely proud of.
And we're going to talk about one of them in a minute, right?
No. This is along this line.
Oh,
but
okay.
yeah, I'm proud of way more than 3 people. But Corcoran Holt,
oh yes,
Ben Williams, and Rashawn Carter were running around. Now, Ben and I spent time at Fillmore Arts Center, and that's where I would teach him, and then his mother would bring him out, and he couldn't have been this big to hear me play when I was in town and stuff like that. But, you know, I used to be worried for Corcoran and Rashawn and Ben. I was wondering where the gigs were going to come from. They're doing okay, you know, and I think this, you know, even post-COVID, we will survive. The music will come back because it sends messages, and people need those messages.
Right.
So it's beyond us. What we do is well beyond us.
That's wonderful. Well, that's even more of a reason that we need to have Jazz Alive supported, so we can have places for those young people to come play, cut their teeth, and all of that.
Spread the word, people. Spread the word.
Thank you.
Fred is doing great work here, and we got to get the word out.
And we'd like to thank 2 people who have donated. Janet and Lou Russo in Nutley, New Jersey, as well as Laurie Wink and Steve Argano in Easton, Pennsylvania. Janet and Lou donated a stream pass to Jimmy Hardigan, piano student in Central Pennsylvania. And Laurie and Steve donated to Sam Leffler, a trumpet student in Northern Virginia, and he plays in the Blues Alley Youth Orchestra, yes?
That he does. And we just had camp. Blues Alley just had a camp. And by the way, you know, there are a couple of organizations in town that are servicing youth and big bands, and Blues Alley is definitely one of them. You know, I love imparting my experience with the Slide Hampton Big Band and all the other big bands. Duke Ellington, I've had the pleasure of subbing with a number of times. Duke Ellington Orchestra. So, you know, we're there for you. We just had camp, and Sam and his brother Benji, if you're listening, guys, and Dad and Mom, Thank you for tuning in, and they're quickly becoming what I call my first family.
There we go.
Yeah.
That's what this is all about.
Yes.
That's all. Let's play one more tune before we say goodbye to everyone.
Cool.
How about Pen Up House? You want to do that one, or?
You know what? Let's leave them with some love.
Okay.
Let's do the Spartacus.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Nothing.
Yeah. I talked about this tune today. I said I was so happy that you had passed this one on. So let's do that one.
Yes.
Michael, it's been such a pleasure having you here. I can't thank you enough. Put you both on the screen. Yes, it's been such a pleasure. Thank you so very, very much. We got to do this again.
Man, I love it,
I don't know when the last time we played together was.
Oh, it's been a long time.
And
I don't know when the last time I played the bass. It's been a thank you for an opportunity to come out of the house. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Folks, we have 2 more of these. Well, I want to have plenty more of these, but you know, we want to make sure that the program is up and running. Thank you so much for your support of Jazz Alive. Thank you very much. Most of you, I'll see you at noon tomorrow. Hopefully you'll all be with us again next week when my guest will be Herman Burney. Thank you so much, folks. Enjoy the rest of your evening and stay cool.